Hello friends, I am Dr. Subhranshu Mohan Nanda, a PG student of Veterinary and Animal Husbandry Extension. So today I am going to discuss about hypothesis. So here we will be discussing about the definition of hypothesis, then the types of hypothesis and testing of hypothesis. Now as you all know, the hypothesis testing is one important thing when you are going for different research articles or you are performing your thesis program. So this is the very much important thing which you are going to deal with. So let's read about the definition of hypothesis. Now hypothesis refers to a statement which is accepted temporarily as true, and on this basis the research work will confine. So this is one important statement which is actually accepted temporarily as true, and basing on which or basing on this particular statement the research work will confine. Suppose let's take one example. We are taking 20 students, okay, 20 students, and we are taking a review of one subject from one particular class. Let's take one example, class 10 students. We are taking one review from two different sections, that the subject of mathematics. Suppose we are taking one review. We are asking the students that do you like mathematics, yes or no. If you do like, we can put one scale also, rate the subject of mathematics from 1 to 10. So now they will be giving one rating, and accordingly we can say that the means there is no significant difference between the rating given by the two different sections comprising of 20 students each. So this will be our, in the types of hypothesis we'll be reading about the different hypothesis, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So this will be a statement of basing on which we will be doing our experiment. Then the types of hypothesis which I was talking about, the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Now let me speak about the null hypothesis. Now this is a hypothesis of no difference. So there is no difference. Like I said, if we are taking one example of two different classes or two different sections rather of a particular class, suppose 10th standard, then the students we are taking are 20 in number from each class. Now we will be saying that in the null hypothesis there is no significant difference between the ratings obtained from section A and section B. So this will be our null hypothesis. So this is a statement of no change, no difference, or no relationship. Okay, so it is denoted by H0. Next is alternative hypothesis. Now this says that there is a significant difference. Now here we can say that there is a significant difference which will exist between the students rankings of the students which are obtained from section A and section B. So actually if we talk about this example, these rankings may be similar basing on the course curriculum, basing on the environment of the mathematics class, basing on the teacher who is teaching the mathematics class, basing on the pattern of examination, basing on the marks scored. So there can be many criteria basing on which the results may vary. If there is significant difference which is existing between the two sections, maybe the teacher may be different, maybe the environment may be different, we can later on think about it. So alternative hypothesis means there is a significant difference between the two samples which are chosen, or there is a significant difference between the sample and the population which is chosen. Now this statement is valid only for single sample test. So I'll be dealing it in detail. So in this case actually when you are testing on hypothesis, it can be between two samples or it can be between sample and population from which the sample is drawn. So in that case we will be saying, we'll be testing rather the sample is drawn from that population or not, or we are having some biasness in the sample that this sample is not a proper representative of the population. So this is represented by H1. Many people write it HA also, it's simply correct, but mostly in many books I have seen it is written as H1. Next, there are different steps in testing of hypothesis. For setting up of a hypothesis means what? Putting a means selecting the proper null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. Then setting up a suitable significance level, I'll discuss it in detail. Then determination of test statistic. Now mark this word statistic, I'll be saying it in detail. Then determination of critical reason, computing the value of test statistic, again this word came. Then making a decision. Suppose, so our example is fixed, or in this case we can take a different example, like let's see, our example is students, the students who are reading in class 12 have a have an average height of 5 feet, suppose 3 inch, okay, in case of boys, and 5 feet, suppose 2 inch in case of girls. Let's take one as a now we are talking about Indian students, so we have to take the proper sample also. Now the sample which will be chosen from here actually can be, means must be actually from different parts of the country to make it a uniform sample. I'll be discussing in my other videos about the different sampling procedures which are to be undertaken. So this is one example in which we can compare if the sample which is drawn resembles the sample, means resembles the population or not. So this is a perfect example. Suppose I am taking a sample from Bhubaneswar. Let's take one example. I'm taking the sample from Bhubaneswar, a particular school from Bhubaneswar or different schools from Bhubaneswar. So of course I know that I'm taking a biased sample because it's confined to only one particular place, and we cannot generalize it to the whole of the country. Still, let us check it. So first we'll be putting one null hypothesis that there is no significant difference between the sample mean and the population means. Means the sample, if this is accepted later on, it will indicate that the sample is from the same population, so it's a proper sample. Then alternative hypothesis will say that there is significant difference between the sample mean and the population means. This means that the sample chosen is not a proper identification or not a proper representation of the whole population. Okay, are you clear with it? Next, setting up of a level of significance. Now this is very important. We denote it as alpha. Alpha equal to, mostly we use 5%. 5% alpha means it will be denoted as 0.05. so this is very important. So let me explain it to you. So level of significance actually means the probability to which null hypothesis is rejected when it is true. So this means that if alpha equal to suppose 1%, it says that the hypothesis which I am accepting it with 99% of confidence. 1% error is there, but 99% of with 99% of confidence I'm accepting it. Similarly, if it is 5% level of significance, we can say with 95% of confidence I am accepting this particular hypothesis. So mostly used one is alpha equal to 0.05 or 5%. This is mostly used in statistical calculations which are conducted in case of social sciences or in case of any other studies related to veterinary or any other related studies like medical and all. But if you talk about the appropriateness or the degree of impact or the appropriate results obtained from a medicine, then you have to, it is most likely that you should take 1% level of significance, because this will say that the probability to which null hypothesis is rejected when it is true is very less. When it is very less, then the medicine, the importance of the medicine will be more. Means with 99% confidence I can say that if 100 people will take this medicine, then 99 of them will be cured by it. So this is a very precise one. It is very good for calculation of these things. But in social sciences actually we have to take alpha equal to 5%, because the mentality of people won't match. So maybe 94 with 95% we can say it. Next, the important thing, test statistic. Now statistic refers to the value of the test which we are obtaining. Now there are different tests which I have written. These three are known as quantitative test. This is known as qualitative test. So this is known as qualitative test because it measures the qualitative characters, or it compares the qualitative character rather. We write chi-square. Now chi-square is further divided into many types. Okay, Bartlett's test, then test for heterogeneity, then goodness of it. I'll be making a separate video on chi-square, separate video on f-test or ANOVA also, and z-test and t-test also. Now ANOVA, this is done for multiple factors. Let me explain. First, t-test is done for small samples. Actually, we say this when sample size is less than 20, we go for t-test. When sample size is greater than or equal to 20, we go for z-test. So t-test is also for of different types, like one sample test. Okay, one sample t-test, then two sample t-test. In two sample we can say about samples having different variants, samples having same variants, then again one pair t-test. So if the sample is very large, we can go for z-test. And f-test or ANOVA is done for multiple factors, means to avoid the conduction of two or more t-test or two or more z-test, we are going for f-test or ANOVA. Now here also we are having different designs like CRD, RBD, LSD, Henderson's. We'll be discussing it in detail in the later videos. So this is just one preliminary video regarding the different testing of hypothesis. Here we are giving the different tests. So you have to remember only four, which are very important tests. This is very important. So this one is non-parametric test, and these all are parametric test. So here it measures the quantitative characters, here it measures the qualitative characters. So here quantitative test, this is for qualitative test. Okay, so it measures the qualitative character, like we can say skin color and all. So quantitative characters which are actually can be measured, so it is done by this type of test. Now for if you are doing this test, if you are taking large samples, like suppose 200 samples or around 200 samples, so large samples, we can do it using computer, we can do it using Excel, or we can go for different statistical softwares which are available, SPSS, SAS and all. We can go for that and we can solve it. Next is, what is critical reason? See this diagram properly. So actually this is a normal distribution curve. So the reason which is shown is 95% is known as critical reason, because you will be accepting the hypothesis, okay, basing on the critical reason, means 90 with 95% confidence will be accepting it. So the different values which will be between this reason, okay, within this reason will be accepted, or they will be having a significance in the process, and these the values which are lying beyond this will be rejected. So these are the rejection zone, that is the 5% level of significance. We can say this is the acceptance reason or the level of confidence. So at a given level of significance alpha, the optimal critical reason for a two-tailed. Now what is two-tailed test and what is one-tailed test? So let me explain you. Two-tailed test means we do not know on which side the experiment will be. It will be positive or it will be negative. The results actually. Suppose I am providing one medicine, so I do not know it will to what extent will it act, or will it produce any negative result. But suppose I am providing a feed to a poultry, then I can say that of course the weight will increase. Maybe what is the extent of increase in weight is different, but the weight will of course increase with increase in age if I am providing the proper feed, which I know. So if you are adding a different feed, that is different, but that won't in most cases decrease the weight. So I can go for that positive tail or one tail test. Okay, right hand side tail test. So this is different. I'll be explaining the separate videos. So alpha by 2% are in the right hand tail region. This is alpha by 2. Okay, this is again alpha by 2 in the left hand tail region. These are the reasons where null hypothesis will be rejected, and in this reason null hypothesis will be accepted. Again I want to say, what is null hypothesis? There is no significant difference between the sample mean and population mean, or between the different samples. Then value of test statistics. Now the value, suppose t value, we can say t value, f value, or chi-square value we can say. So when these are obtained, actually after that we will be checking these values with the table, standard table which is present with n-1 degree of freedom. Actually degree of freedom is different for different tests if we go for ANOVA and all. So I will be explaining it in later videos, but for normally if we are doing t-test or t-test or z-test, okay, here we can go for n-1 degree of freedom, that is okay. So here n-, what is now degree of freedom, I'll be explaining the table. So this is the means reason, or we can say if value, the calculated value is less than the tabulated value, the table value which is present in the next slide I'll be showing you, then at a chosen level of significance, I said about level of significance alpha equal to 0.05. Suppose at a chosen level of significance we are doing this experiment, and we are getting that the calculated value, or the value which we calculated, or the test statistic, or the t value, f value, chi-square value, z value is less than the tabulated value, then we can say the null hypothesis accepted. Now when null hypothesis is accepted, this means that there is no significant difference between sample mean and population mean. Means we can say here that the sample belongs to that population, or if two samples we are testing, then we can say there is no significant difference between the two samples, means both the sample belong to the same population. So if the calculated value is more than the tabulated value with n-1 degree of freedom at a chosen level of significance, the null hypothesis is rejected, just the reverse of it. So this means that there is significant difference between sample mean and population means, or in case of multiple samples you can say these two samples are not from the same population. So this is the table, actually we can see I have taken the mostly used degree of freedom, that is 9 and 0.05. So you can this is by this process you can obtain the value. So this value can be obtained, and based on it you can test. Actually this is a type of means with the table for t-test, so you can accordingly choose for different tests, and you can give it and you can compare it. Now this is the tabulated value, and we have found out the calculated value. Now if calculated value is less than the tabulated value, then null hypothesis will be accepted. If calculated value is more than the tabulated value, then null hypothesis will be rejected. Now this is alpha equal to 0.05. This is true tell, where we are not having any certainty. Then if alpha equal to 0.01, then this is the value. It's very clear, same degree of freedom. If degree of freedom will increase, then accordingly the values will change. Okay, then taking the decision, same thing again, it is repeated in the last step, that if the hypothesis may be accepted or rejected depending on whether the value of test statistic fall in rejection or acceptance reason. If null hypothesis is accepted or null hypothesis is okay rejected, then basing on it we can calculate. So if null hypothesis is accepted, then there is no significant difference. If it is rejected, then significant difference will be existing. Now it is tested at 5% level, then we can say that it would be rejected if the observed results have a probability of less than 5%. So in such cases, the difference between sample statistic and hypothesized population parameter is considered to be significant. On the other hand, if the hypothesis is accepted, okay, the difference between sample mean and population mean is not regarded. It's written here hypothesized population parameter. This means it can be any parameter basing on the means I am comparing mean here for easy understanding purpose, is not significant as and can be attributed to chance. So this means that here we are referring to actually null hypothesis. So acceptance of rejection of null hypothesis is referred, because if we say that null hypothesis is accepted, then automatically the alternative hypothesis is rejected. So if null hypothesis is accepted, then there is no significant difference between the, so it is not regarded as significant, the no significant difference between the sample statistic and the hypothesized population parameter. So I hope you understood about the hypothesis in clear cut manner, the most important question here will be, what do you mean by hypothesis, what are the different types of hypothesis, and the right the different steps which are involved in hypothesis testing. So again, I will make further videos regarding on hypothesis testing, the which test you have to choose, means in which format are you going to solve the problems. So basically in statistic, for a large number of if we are having respondents or observations, then we are going for to evaluate it using computer. But I will say you different handmade formulas which are present, which we are using to do it. And I will also in further videos teach you about the use of different softwares by which we can solve it. So with this I remain. Thank you. If you like my teaching style, if you get some amount of information out of it, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you.